Rip.
All right, welcome back to episode 3, Phenom Fam Podcast. The phenomenal fans live here, Jared. They live on this podcast.
That's true. That's exactly where they live. That's why everyone's here and everyone's listening. And if you're not listening, get your shit together.
Yeah, because this is where every phenomenal fan this is where they spend their time, where they listen to stuff. Listen to us degenerates talk about sports, and we have a good slate today of topics. We're recording here on a Thursday evening, January 27th. Obviously a big weekend. NFL Championship Sunday. 2 tickets to the Super Bowl will be punched by the next time we talk. We have some NBA action. We have had some coaching hires in the NFL, so we will dive into that, and we'll break down some other stuff. But in the meantime, first of all, Jared, of course, the number one topic on everybody's mind this weekend. We touched on it in the last episode, but Bengals Chiefs, 49ers Rams.
Oh yeah. Yep, and we have our picks out there on
TikTok.
If you want to see them, you can go over to the Phenomenal Fan TikTok. We talked about it. I believe Ryan has Chiefs at -7. I took Bengals at +7. I said like it would be tough to take the under in that game just because you just watched them score a combined 65 points. But
True.
At the same time, it's like one of those ones I'd like to stay away from. I took Rams money line and a alt under of 49.5.
Parlayed together.
I'm a big alt guy. Yeah, parlayed those together, of course. So I'm excited about it, Ryan. And what did you have in the Rams game? You said that you would take Rams.
The Rams are going to win by 3. So
yeah, so you take them at 2.5. So you could take it all.
I said I would take them at 3 also, because they're going to win by 3, so it'll be a push, and I'm fine with the push. But then I feel like
just
at that point,
extra half point.
Yeah, just buy the extra half point.
So because if you think they're going to win by 3, just take them at 2.5. Screw your payout a little bit, right?
Yeah, but I'm just still that game is just such a toss-up for me, because on paper, coming into it, watching the Rams play, putting up a shit ton of points against the Bucks, just their offense is loaded. Their defense is loaded. The defense is playing really well. Everybody's playing really well. On paper, theoretically, they should beat the pulp out of the 49ers. Like, it should be, on paper, in a dome.
Yeah.
It should be a 31-17 game. You know what I mean? That's what I would think.
You would think so. Which I would actually wouldn't mind, because that would hit my alt under, and it would also take care of the money line. But this San Fran team's weird, and that stat about Sean McVay against Kyle Shanahan. Did you see that? There's only 4 I think that they showed this thing. There's only like 4 coaches ever that are like 0-6. I don't know if it was active coaches or coaches like ever that were 0-6 against another coach. And Sean McVay is 0-6 against Kyle Shanahan as head coach.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a fun one to take into the weekend. And it's like, I know that's going to be in the back of my head when I'm picking that, because I'm going to be like,
yeah,
is he going to win 7 in a row? But I don't know.
But now
know
he's
if Sean
due.
McVay's ever had a team. I don't know if he's ever had a team like he has now. I mean, you had Jared Goff there.
He's 0-6 against Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I guess so.
Was Kyle Shanahan the head coach when the Rams went to the Super Bowl like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever that was, and they played the Patriots? They had Goff, obviously.
I don't know when his first one was. I know because Kyle Shanahan came over from Atlanta, right? He was the
I have no idea.
Coordinator.
It could have been.
I'm pretty sure I think Kyle Shanahan, when Matt Ryan had that crazy good year, I think he might. I don't know if he won an MVP, but he might have. I think he was the offensive coordinator for Atlanta. I could double check, but let's see. Kyle.
I just can't imagine the team that went to the Super Bowl lost to him twice that year.
Sean McVay.
And Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, right?
Sean McVay Rams seek to snap 6-game losing streak versus Kyle Shanahan 49ers.
So is it 0-6 or is it a 6-game losing streak? You know what I mean? Because if he's 0-6,
it sounds like it's a 6-game losing streak.
Because they play twice a year, so that's 3 years.
I saw a little snippet under here that said he's 3-7 overall.
Okay.
So he just beat him.
Okay.
He's on a 6-game losing streak. I was I think I was I don't know what I was doing, but I don't think I was
So
like
if you
really
take
paying
the
attention. I saw 6-0-6, so it must be over the last couple of years or
so
whatever.
if you take the six game losing streak out of it, he's 2-1 against Sean McVay. I mean against Kyle Shanahan. He's 2-1.
Yeah, but like you can't.
I know. I'm just kidding.
You can't just take a 6-game losing streak
Or
out of the
3-1.
equation.
No,
Well,
I
if
know.
you take that horrible stretch.
So see, and that's the same thing because that lines up so similarly to the last weekend when 49ers played the Packers. And the Packers on paper at home in Lambeau against the wild card team
in the snow
should have covered the spread.
Against the Cali team, right?
Yeah, exactly. A California team, like everything else, as the home team. And by the way, just so you know, and so our listeners know, coming into that game last week, Jared, the Packers did not lose a game at home this season. They went 8-0 at home. They went 7-1 at home against the spread in that game. Coming into that game. All signs pointed to Packers winning, Packers covering. And then you heard that one pesky stat, just like the one you mentioned about McVay versus Shanahan. Rodgers had never beat the 49ers in the playoffs. And you're like, well, one of these has to give, right? Like either the Packers blow it at home and their amazing season at home ends, or, they cover the spread, they beat the Packers for the first time in the playoffs, and then they probably go to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, San Fran has this weird thing where like they obviously they kind of had a little bit of a weird year, like in terms of like they had ups and downs, and but like they have this weird thing where their game plan and their schemes are so good where they can just run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and then throw. And the Jimmy G's good enough to throw it when you
put the ball in the hands and the best weapon in the NFL, right?
Yeah, gotta put it. Who's that again? Oh, that's right, Deebo Samuel.
Yeah,
he's a monster. And then you have Kittle, and when Kittle's going, he's as good as any other tight end in the league. Really, when he's going strong. And you got to think like Travis Kelce. Like I wonder what Travis Kelce would look like with Jimmy G. Because Travis Kelce has days where he's off with Patrick Mahomes. What does George Kittle look like with Patrick Mahomes?
Oh yeah, he's Travis Kelce.
He's Travis Kelce, or like Kelce looks like a little bit bigger, but I think Kittle's looks like a better actual receiver.
So if you look at the 49ers schedule this year and their games, they beat the Lions. They beat everybody they should have. They lost to the Packers and it looks like week 3, if I'm looking at this correctly, by 2 points. Then they lost to the Seahawks. By the way, Jared, the 49ers lost twice to the Seahawks this year. I don't know if that's just that's a Russell Wilson. I don't know if that's like a Russell Wilson like thing against the 49ers. Maybe he just dominates against the 49ers. It could be. They lost to the Titans, a good team. They lost to the Colts, a good team. They lost to the Packers. They lost to the Cardinals twice also. So maybe people were kind of, I don't know. I've heard so many things, right? People always say that about like the wild card teams in baseball or the teams that like, look at we've talked about it before, I think, but Eli Manning's 2 Super Bowls, like he was a wild card team both years. He was 9-7 both times, but you win that first road game in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden you turn into that team that nobody wants to play. So maybe they show up, maybe they win. I still have Rams by 3. Yeah. And it should be a fun game.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that one. Really excited to see the scheme, like just the way that
what they
49ers play that game. Yeah, because if they're able to run the ball and just keep the ball out of the Rams' hands, like any like team that I like, the Pats used to do that really well, where they would get a little bit of a lead and then they would just
coast,
like especially in like those like LeGarrette Blount style, like those days. To get that lead, and then they would just pound the ball with LeGarrette Blount at the end of the game, and like the other team would like touch the ball for 7 minutes in the second half, and it's really tough to come back when you can hold the ball, especially if those long drives somehow turn into scores,
touchdowns.
Then you're really in trouble, because it's like, okay, not only did they hold the ball, but now they just added an extra possession that you have to get. So
yeah, I would say the key to this game. And the 49ers are a team that reminds me kind of like the Packers, where if they get down big early, like the Rams jumped on top, what, 20-3 on the. I mean, at one point it was 27-3, right, or something against the Bucks, 26-3.
It looked like it was a horrible blowout, and then it looked like we talked about. It looked like it was scripted for Tom Brady to come back, and then he'd win a Super Bowl and like maybe potentially right off into the sunset as like
right.
golden boy, right? Like it kind of, that's what it felt like when he started coming back. You're like, oh, this shit's rigged.
Yeah, but I think if the 49ers get down like that early, 40 or 21-3, 27-3, they don't have enough. Jimmy G doesn't. He's not capable enough to just lead them to such a monster comeback because, like you said, they're designed in order to have that type of comeback. You have to have a really, really good quarterback, really, really good receiving core, and you can't really run the ball that much. And that's where they have their success. I mean, even when they beat the Packers, right? They were close to field goal range. It was like coming down to the end of the game. It was 3rd and 6, and they just hand the ball off to Deebo Samuel. Of course, he busts for like 12. They kick a field goal and win. But like that works in that situation because they run the ball. But if they're in a situation where they can't run or they're forced to throw, they're probably going to lose. So that's the key if I'm the 49ers is just jump on them early. Especially
with that against that defense. That's not a good defense to come back against. And that's kind of like the thing that I'm like that's the difference between the Chiefs and the Bengals game, right? Like if somebody gets down, you never
and they need to come back.
The Chiefs just prove they can go down the field and score in
13 seconds.
Still, I think it's a really good Bills D.
Number one Bills defense.
This next game it lacks a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
It definitely lacks.
Yeah, so Bengals Chiefs is actually the first game of the day, I believe. I wish it was the second one because I think that'd be a more entertaining game. Maybe not. I don't know. But second game, Bengals Chiefs.
Am I flashing?
No, you look good.
Well, no, my little light feels like it's flashing, but it might just be because my eyes have been staring.
No, you look good. You look good.
All right, cool. Just double checking.
So 49. I mean, so Bengals Chiefs. I have the Chiefs winning. I have the Chiefs covering just because, like you said, the Chiefs have that capability where it's just like at any given point, they could score a touchdown. Burrow throws one pick, boom, another touchdown. They go 3 and out or they punt, boom, another touchdown. Then it's just like, my God, will they ever stop? So I feel like it may end up being a game where the experience pays off. And obviously the Bengals don't have that. But
but is it too early for them to have like a coming out party?
Correct.
Where it's like, okay, like because like this was a little bit of like this was kind of their coming out party of a year, but is it like too early for them just to be the guys that march into the playoffs, or is it just the classic narrative of like, well, they don't have the experience yet, and then they're just, and it feels like Joey Burrow is going to be primed for an MVP season and a Super Bowl at some point in his career, right?
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. He's going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, and that team is young and really good. So I don't know. It does feel it sort of feels like like veteran like Mahomes for some reason right now is the veteran in that game, which is funny. It just doesn't feel like Mahomes is a veteran because
he's got the most experience, man.
The other day, just
two
the other day.
Super Bowls, man. He's played in 2 Super Bowls already. What is he, 25, 24? Like, he's a freaking baby, man. But I think, we saw it when they played, and we've mentioned it before, but the last time they played, it was back and forth. There was a shootout, and the one thing the Bengals do have, which I think is maybe there's an argument for it. I wouldn't say the best, but a top 3, definitely this year. Top 3 combo between Burrow and Jamar Chase, the quarterback receiver combo. Those two guys, you saw it in the game they played against the Chiefs. You remember that down in the fourth quarter? It was like 3rd and 20, and Joe Burrow dropped back and he said it after the game. He said it. They were like, "What are you thinking in the press conference? What are you thinking right there when you just lob a ball, 50-50 ball up to Jamar?" And he said, he's like, "Isn't that the meme that everyone talks about?" He's like, "Fuck it, Jamar's down there somewhere." Like he's down there. So they have that capability. And the Chiefs secondary obviously has some weaknesses. So I think if the Bengals were to pull off a monster upset, Jamar Chase is going to have to catch. I think they're going to have at least 2 guys with 120 receiving yards. And I think Mixon's going to have to run for at least 80 to 100 also. Burrow's going to have to stay. It's just, man, the margin of error against the Chiefs is so small. You turn the ball over once, it's like you literally may as well call it almost game over. Like,
Yeah, it just this year they had a little bit less of like that. That it seemed like they had those games where they obviously still had like the classic vintage Chiefs that we'd seen over the last couple of years, but they did have those games where like the offense sputtered a little bit.
Yep.
And it was like
early on too.
and Travis Kelce looked like he wasn't interested in playing, probably because DraftKings or FanDuel told him that 90% of the money and the prop bets run is over. So they said, "Hey, man,
yeah, we'll give you another game check if you don't get every effort into your targets."
And also, I like, here's another thing. It's kind of funny to have like the official betting partners of like the NFL. Like, doesn't it just kind of feel, or NBA, whatever it is, doesn't it feel like there's such a conflict of interest?
It does.
Like just to be like a betting partner, like, because it's like, okay, so we're shaking hands on the business side of things, right? Well, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm with you. I mean,
like
probably
and then
not,
you just
but
you sign like some
NDA.
non-disclosure agreement, NDAs, and you just tell them, the coaches ring it down to the players and say, hey man, we're gonna lose. Our company as a sports book will lose. We looked at the numbers. We'll lose $5 million on this game.
We'll give you a check for 500,000.
Yeah, we'll give you guys a check. We'll refurnish the locker room or whatever the hell it is.
Seriously.
Like, I don't know. Those things start spinning in my head because I kind of picture what if I had that much power, like, you know what I mean? Like what the way I might handle things. I don't know.
I'm with you.
Tough.
I'm with you.
And money is kind of like the root of all evil,
and
like
maybe,
that sometimes.
And maybe it's not the Chiefs. Like maybe early this season, one that particularly comes to mind for me, and maybe it's just because I got completely bent over the sink on it in fantasy football, was I had some guys on a bye. It was like later in the season, like week 15 or something in the playoffs, and I needed like week 13. I can't remember, but I needed a running back. And I remember the week before, I think I also needed a running back or a flex, and I started like Myles Gaskin, or maybe I bet on him to score a touchdown for the Dolphins. And Myles Gaskin got like 6 carries the entire game. And Duke Johnson, who had 6 carries the whole season coming into that game, had like 29 carries for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns or something ridiculous. And I was like, that's really weird that they just randomly decided he's going to get 30 carries today. And then the next week I picked him up, and that was the week I needed a running back. I started Duke Johnson, and he did nothing. He had like 9 carries for 30 yards, no touchdowns. Like, is there a little bit in there where people are like, oh my God, Duke Johnson, he went off last week. Oh, Duke Johnson, anytime touchdown, plus 220? Pff, easy. And then he just doesn't, red zone just doesn't even get targeted, doesn't get touched, doesn't, and I'm just like, man, what's going on with the Dolphins?
Don't get me started about primetime games and BS players scoring.
Oh, that happened.
It's always the narrative. It's always the narrative where it's like they always say this guy was working at a Radio Shack last week and he just punched in his first career touchdown. And it's like, why was it the first score? Like, why are we doing tackle eligibles for the first score of the game? Why is Derek Gore, the guy that you guys signed from the practice squad, punching the ball in over Damian Williams or
the first touchdown of the game last week?
Damian Williams.
The first touchdown of the game between the Rams and the Buccaneers was a 7-yard pass on first and goal from the 7-yard line. Let's take a step back here. If you have money on that game, which I'm sure you did and millions of other people did, on the first touchdown scorer in that game, Bucks, Rams, who comes first to mind? Leonard Fournette, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Rob Gronkowski,
OBJ,
anybody.
It'd be
Van Jefferson, Mike Evans.
Who was it though? Who was the guy that scored?
The guy that caught the first touchdown in the Rams-Bucks game last week on first and goal was a play-action rollout. Matt Stafford touchdown to Kendall Blanton. It was his 6th reception of the season.
Dude,
and his first career touchdown.
I'm just saying, man, that shit, like, you don't got to fix the game. you don't have to fix a game to fix a prop bet not to hit.
100%.
You could still game plan away from somebody to fix a game and make money advantageously while kind of thinking that you're doing it okay. Like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm there with you, dude, because there's times where it's like, there's times where like Derrick Henry. I mean, like even I felt like Deonta Foreman. Like we talked about how he was pretty good, right?
Right.
Deonta, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Deontay Foreman. Yeah.
Deonta. We talked about it. Like we're like, okay, he's pretty damn good, but it's like he also took like 6 or 7 carries away, and Derrick Henry ended up like 82 yards, and I think his over under was like 85.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like.
Well, then you go a little bit. Then you take a step back, right? And you're like, well, last week in the Titans game, the guy that scored the first touchdown was Derrick Henry, and how much money was on Derrick Henry to score the first touchdown, right? I mean,
yeah, but they also give you shit. Well, semi shit odds compared to the other players, but
the point is the NFL.
Like,
the NFL first touchdown scores are rigged. Bottom line, they're rigged. There's no other way to put it.
I think so too. And it's not. And like I said, it doesn't mean anything about like the game necessarily being fixed. The outcome of the game might still be a certain way, but like there could be there could definitely be like a game plan change, right?
Yeah.
A play calling change, shifting your first goal line package, and like it could even be like an attempted touchdown. And they might have to like attempt to throw it to 2 guys, and if they can't get it, they can maybe go to, I don't know. But I would imagine that there's a little bit of tomfoolery happening. For sure.
There definitely could be.
Okay, but yeah, I'm excited for this weekend, man. I'm really hoping that I'm kind of hoping that the way I'm gonna bet happens. Obviously, first of all, I have a bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl with my buddy, which I got, like I told you, got shit odds on. I took it at like I got 3-1 odds. So I bet 50. He has to give me 150. That was like week 4, so I should have got better odds on that, but whatever. We were having some beers, so whatever.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about the games. I'm very excited to see if I'm hoping that Chiefs Bengals game turns into a big shootout because just who doesn't love a big shootout?
100%. 100%.
And then I do think if the 49ers potentially have a chance just with the history of the coaching, and if they can hold the ball away and not make Jimmy G do too much. But I mean, the one kryptonite to that is that how good that Rams defense actually has been playing. So
yeah, 100%.
So excited about that. So let's I guess we can recap on Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah, Sunday night if we get into it, we'll know. Who knows, right? And then we mentioned last time that we'll dive into a little bit of basketball. Again, Jared's a little bit more up on it than I am, but the big game of the weekend that I've seen is Nets Warriors. Now, yes, Durant's not playing, but Kyrie will be. James Harden most likely will be. Of course, you have your Steph Currys, your Klay Thompsons. So the rosters that are going to play are good. I think more so the story of this game might be that, and it is true, these two teams are the number 1 and number 2 teams that are in every book favorites to win the championship this year. So this could very, very, very easily, probably the most likely scenario for the NBA Finals. So it's an exciting game to see.
When's the last time you checked on that?
On the odds for...
Yeah, because it wouldn't surprise me, because it's like if you're accounting for things to happen in the future.
Yeah, if we look on the NBA tab, I guess you could say, for team futures on, let's just look at DraftKings. Right now, the Nets are the favorite at plus 250, and the Warriors are second favorites at plus 475. And the next closest is the Suns at plus 600, Bucks at plus 700.
That Suns team is pretty good, man. I have a sneaky one. Like the Memphis Grizzlies are kind of sneaky like that too. The way they might be.
I think the Cavs are kind of sneaky this year from what I've seen.
I was gonna say that too. I like, and they're plus 8,000, dude. $10 to win $800.
Yeah,
and the Cavs, yeah, because they got a good team. Like
I think they just beat the Bucks last night.
They beat them handily. They beat them by like 20 points.
Exactly.
They beat the shit out. Well, and here's the thing that people don't understand about them. They're fucking huge, dude. It's a huge team.
Is it?
Jarrett Allen is huge. Lauri Markkanen is like 7 foot tall.
Apparently Kevin Love is just in his prime.
Evan Mobley is 7 foot tall and going to be the rookie of the year. That's another one. Awards. Let's see. MVP, Jokic is plus 400. They're saying that Embiid might win it, but I think just the way that Jokic plays is better than Embiid. So
Right.
Rookie of the Year award. Here we go. Yeah, Evan Mobley. So he's minus 225 in the books. So there's nobody else that's even really that close.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's a good team. And then Darius Garland is nasty at point guard.
Yeah. See, I don't know all these guys, but
he's the point guard. He's their point guard, and he can shoot it. He can score. He can go with both hands in the paint really well. And then he just can come in and they dish it, and it's really tough to get rebounds against these guys.
Yeah,
because they come in there and like that's like what I noticed. It's like I've noticed because I've taken prop bets like with players on other teams to get rebounds against them, and it doesn't work out very well because you have like this like 3 7-footer lineup. They have like a bunch of guys that are like there's 4 guys on that team that are 7 foot.
Really?
Or like 6'10" plus or 6'11" plus.
Yeah,
like,
interesting.
So that's you're right. That's a good team, but this Nets game this weekend should be interesting. We're both expecting James Harden to play. I know that he was sidelined yesterday against the Nuggets, but
I think more so, even if all the stars don't play, I think it's just the fact that if everything goes how it should, that would be the NBA Finals matchup, which is always interesting to see. Like you see in the regular season in baseball or something, or you see, I think like last year, I don't know, or maybe it was this year, like the Chiefs and Packers played, you're like, oh shit, like this could be a preview for the Super Bowl, or like, you know what I mean? So it's exciting to see those two teams. So
yeah, I'm surprised that Golden State's still so chalked. I just don't think that they have enough. I don't think they have enough.
I think it's the same with the Chiefs.
He's not playing well. Though.
I agree.
Steph's just not playing that well.
No, I agree.
He hasn't scored over 20 points. Like he's like go look at like their like last like 10 games. He scored over 20 like 3 times. And this guy's here's one thing is like what people need to start understanding about statistics when you're looking at this stuff is like you got to look at field goals, like how many attempts are going up, because it's not that impressive. Like that's the thing that like. There's a thing I look at when people start talking about like, oh, well, he's like, look, he just dropped this. It's like, well, yeah, I know, but he shot the ball
a billion times,
20, 21, 27. So he shot the ball 20, like this game, he scored 39 points, but he shot the ball 27 times.
Right. And a lot of those are threes.
Pretty solid. He was 12, but he was still sub 50%. It's 12 for 27.
Yeah.
He shot 16 threes in this game.
Yeah. That's a shit ton.
And he shot well. I mean, he scored 39, but then, like you go up to this one right here, and the guy shot the ball 20 times to score 13 points.
Right.
1 for 13 from 3. That's not primed out Steph Curry. It seems like ever since he broke that record, for the most threes all time,
he's chilled out a little bit.
A sense of complacency. I don't think it's complacency or anything like that. He's like he's obviously the king of 3-pointers, right? But it's just like feels like it was a mission. Like as you look at back in the stats, I'm looking at him right now. He went 6. This is how many threes he hit in these games. 6, 6, 7, 3, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5, 5, 8, and then you go up here and it's like 2, 1, 4, 2, 2. It's like, yeah. So he's obviously like maybe gone through a little bit of a shooting slump, and like I'm not going to doubt the guy because obviously he's been so damn good throughout his career. It just feels like looking at that team right now, I just don't believe that the answer is Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I don't think that they can compete with like a fully healthy big 3 of the Nets, like you're saying.
Right. But I also think it breaks into
like I just think that's
better. I agree with that. I think but I think the thing they're getting the benefit of the doubt of on books and the lines and everything is the same thing the Chiefs, like even when the Chiefs were 4 whatever they were in 8 games and 4-4, right? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs were still second or third favorites to win the Super Bowl at that point, right? And you're like, well, how could that be? Like these other teams are, the Cowboys are fucking 7-2, and all these teams are doing so much better. It's the experience and it's their ability at any point. Like you talked about, Steph's got the ability. Dude, when Steph, Clay, Draymond, they get contributions from Andrew Wiggins, they get contributions off the bench, all of a sudden that team puts up 135 points and you're like, oh shit, so they could very easily do that. Lord knows the defense being played by the Nets and James Harden is not top tier either, because James Harden could give a fuck about defense. So I don't know. I think it's just going to be an interesting game either way. Just a decent tell of what's going to go down. It'll be highly contested. Primetime game, ABC, Saturday night. So that's what we got for sports this weekend, and should be a good one. So moving on to the next topic we wanted to touch on, more near and dear to us, located in the general Colorado area, is the announcement of the Denver Broncos hiring Nathaniel Hackett to be their head coach, offensive coordinator from the Green Bay Packers. And in normal situation, normal times, the hiring of a coach maybe doesn't mean a whole lot. Sometimes it's just, okay, we got a guy in, right? The Bears hired a head coach today.
Yeah, but it feels
They
feels
hired
oddly suspicious that we got this Green Bay guy.
Eberfluss. I don't know. Hold on, I don't know where this sound's coming from.
It's not my end.
No, it's. Oh, it's coming from. It's coming from here. Whoops.
4,000 alerts every 30 seconds. It feels like I get an alert. So I'm working right now, so I have live data feeds flowing, and also that classic little. Do you use Slack at work?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know the little.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that. That's always I hear that It feels like the thing's ingrained. I hear it so much that the other day there was a Slack commercial on the TV.
Yep, I hear it all the time, and I hear the sound, and I turn and look.
I heard it on my phone, and it like almost echoed on the TV on the commercial, and I was like, that was pretty funny. Well, yeah. Just what are the chances?
Yep.
But
yeah, so Bears hire Matt Eberfluss. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. Colts defensive coordinator.
Kind of a weird hire in my mind.
Weird hire, and it was the same situation we were looking at for the Broncos when they were interviewing defensive coordinators. It was just simply, what is the thought process there? Because the Bears' defense is just good. I like defensive coordinators if it's a team that has a high-powered offense and the defense is where they need to improve, right? Because you're hiring a guy that had success on the defensive side of the ball. With the Bears, their struggles have obviously not been on the defensive side of the ball, and they need a offensive-minded quarterback-driven coach to come in and help Justin Fields and the other guys they hope to get or plan on getting. So, interesting hire there. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but he was considered for a couple other jobs, it looks like, including the Jags, and interviewed in a couple different places.
So they were about 12th in rushing.
They were 12th in rushing?
12th in rushing, looks like right here. And then it looks like, I guess receiving would be the same as passing, right? They were actually about 20th ranked. It looks, I'm not going to count, but it looks right about 18.
Sure.
Whatever. They were like, but they weren't like a top 3.
Right. So it is.
It's Bills, Panthers.
It's a bit of an odd hire. I think the Broncos one was much better and more calculated because, as we all know, Aaron Rodgers is a free agent, or going to be, or technically he's a free agent. And then there's the other rumors that start swirling around. Davante Adams isn't super happy in Green Bay. He loves catching balls from Rodgers. Broncos could sign Jerry Jeudy and lock him up for a while, and then dish him to a young team. And now the rumors start flying around. Now, I previously mentioned that if the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers by himself, they wouldn't win the division. And I still think that's true. But if they get the offensive coordinator for Aaron Rodgers as their head coach, and Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, who is arguably the best receiver in the NFL, if not top 3, he's not going to be top 3 without Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. That just is what it is. He's just not going to be. Jordan Love or whoever else they decide to get quarterback, right?
Real quick side note, and then we'll bounce right back.
No, I don't care.
Did you see Devonte Adams was the number 2 receiver behind Jock Peterson in high school.
I did. They were on the same receiving core in high
They were
school.
on the same team, and Jock
like
was like the
Pasadena.
stat leader or whatever. I mean, I'm sure Devonte was more, more physically gifted. He's a bigger, obviously, like a taller and
well, some guys
like
just sprout late though too. Like some guys.
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't look that big, and I don't know what the age difference would be too, because it could have been like Jock was
senior to sophomore,
like a senior, and he was a sophomore, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So that you've seen that happen, but yeah, okay, so keep going.
No, I just think if I'm the Broncos, man, and I obviously hired Nathaniel Hackett, that's a great step in the right direction, right? You already have a young quarterback. You have weapons in place, like we've talked about. You have everything you would like to build on in the future. And you could hold on just Hackett and see how it goes for this year, right? But there's just this massive opportunity to pick up Aaron Rodgers. And now there's this even bigger opportunity, smaller rumor, but bigger opportunity to pick up a guy like Davante Adams. I mean, week 1 of the NFL, let's hypothetically draw this out. Under center, Aaron Rodgers. Running back, Javonte, right? Javonte Williams. It's not Devonte, it's Javonte, because they'd have Javonte, and then they'd have him at running back, Devonte at receiver. But you have Javonte Williams playing running back. That guy's, if anybody profiles similarly to Aaron Jones, it's that guy. I mean, runs people over, low center of gravity. After
I'd say he's even more powerful. Even like looks a little bit thicker, like
100%
more broken tackles type of guy.
100%. And so you don't think Rodgers is going to use that? Of course he is. He's going to check it down to him. He's going to utilize that weapon and that opportunity. And then you go out wide and you have, let's say Judy goes back to Denver, or goes in the trade to Green Bay. So you lose Judy, but you add Davante Adams, and you're out wide with Davante Adams, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, maybe KJ Hamler if he's back and healthy, and Noah Fant at tight end. That might be the best set of weapons that Rodgers has maybe ever had in his career. Maybe. I'd have to look back and see.
It's another thing. Yeah, it's hard to like think about that too, because it's like, it's kind of like the Peyton factor. Like when Peyton came here, he like, R.I.P. Demaryius Thomas, and like like when Eric Decker and DT and those guys were here. Well, those guys were as good as they were because they had a great quarterback. So it's tough to even know how good these guys in Denver, how good these guys in Denver right now actually are, because they've had 10 different starting quarterbacks in the last 5 years since Peyton, and even Peyton's final years. Obviously, everyone knows that he was, he was the classic old quarterback on the way out, and he got the ship and got out. Like,
right,
good for him. But like, it's hard to know how good Cortland Sutton could be with a guy like Peyton, and like back in his prime, or a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off of, he's going to win the MVP this year. So it's like we're talking about back-to-back MVPs, and he comes here. It's tough to see, or tough to know, just because like the quarterback's not just a guy that throws the ball. It's the way that he can craft the offense and see the defense and audible at the line, and that's what's going to make him successful, right? Like that's what makes receivers successful. Is like, if I'm Jerry Jeudy and I'm just, like, I got Drew Lock and I'm just running my route that I was supposed to run coming out of the huddle, and all of a sudden I get audible to a little drag route and I'm wide open because I'm against the linebacker. It's like, that's where like the big stats come from. You get put into a position to succeed. So I think Aaron, like, it'll be cool to see if he does come here. I'm wishful thinking a little bit too much, but like, if he does come here, it'd be cool to see what these guys are actually capable of. Because obviously everybody in the NFL was a stud at one point or another in college, and probably the number 1 or number 2 player on their entire team, right?
Of course. So I think it'll help. I think right now, again, in all the sports books, especially after the Hackett signing, I don't want to guarantee this, but I think the Packers, because most books are offering, a prop or whatever on Aaron Rodgers' next team, right? And you have Packers are on there. The Packers might be favored, but I would assume if they're not favored, the other team that would be is the Broncos. So wishful thinking, but also it's not that wishful. It sounds like it's either the most likely or second most likely scenario for him to go. So I don't know.
That us hiring that OC was like
Just such a big move.
It made it feel, but it just made it feel real, you know.
And it sounded like last year.
He might actually come here.
It sounded like last year, right before the draft or on draft day, like I think it was Mark Schlereth, who's a very well-respected color commentator, analyst, NFL veteran. He made a public statement before the draft, like on the morning of the NFL draft at round 1, saying, I bet my next paycheck that Aaron Rodgers' first snap week 1 of the 2021 NFL season is on the Denver Broncos. That's what he said. And there was other rumors swirling that the Broncos were going to trade in that draft, trade with the Packers, or not trade with the Packers, but trade up and then draft Justin Fields and then trade Fields and get Aaron Rodgers, right? Or something like that. It sounds like that trade was not like this, bullshit public rumor. Like it sounded like it was real. And then the time came. I don't think the Broncos necessarily panicked, but they were like, well, we could do that, take a chance on this, and then maybe don't get Rodgers, set ourselves up in a bad spot. Or we just take Pat Surtain, who obviously had a great season and was a really good DB for them. So it worked out. And maybe, and then they went with Teddy B, and Teddy B wasn't great. So I think if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm pretty excited right now, and as they should be. And I mean, I'm a Broncos fan myself, so I'm hoping that happens. But if it doesn't, if it doesn't, it's been bad.
7 years, really.
Yeah, it's saying right here in this article that he's replacing Vic Fangio, who was fired after a 7-10 season, and that 7-10 season was the 5th consecutive losing season for the Broncos. That's literally the 5 years after the Super Bowl. That's like they won the Super Bowl and went under 500 every year.
Yeah. And then we've had 10 different starting quarterbacks since then.
And 4 different head. This will be their 4th different head coach since the Super Bowl.
It's been terrible, and that's the thing with it is like if you look at it, it's like it really kind of follows it follows Pat Bowlen too, because it's like once we got into this whole he passed away, and like there was the whole shit show of ownership
group, yeah.
All of a sudden, like things got. Like his family was just fighting basically over money, and then I don't think they were really all that concerned about the product on the field, which, I could be wrong, but that's what the media at least tells us.
I would say right now, if they get Aaron Rodgers, it could be a
full reboot, because we're supposed to, because we do that whole court case just got cleared, and the Broncos might get bought out this year.
Yep.
As well, and
they're going to be sold as like the most expensive team ever or something, right? Like
I just saw that too. It might be the most expensive transaction in U.S. sports history. But granted, there hasn't really been very many teams that have been
purchased.
Hands, So it's not like when people hear that, they're probably like, well, what about the Cowboys? Well, it's like, well.
Of course,
Jerry Jones, like he's not going to dish the Cowboys, or I don't even know how long he's actually owned them, but you know what I mean? Like the Cowboys might sell more than the Broncos, but this is going to be the most expensive.
I think now, on my previous statement, if they just got Rodgers, they wouldn't win the division. If the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers with the new head coach signing of Nathaniel Hackett and Devontae Adams, the Broncos win a minimum of 13 games next season. I don't know if that's enough to win the division out of 17, 13-4.
I think they win the division. I think they had by far, it wasn't even close, the best defense in the division this year.
Yeah, for sure.
And
so you think they win? They win the division.
I think they outright win the division. I think if you go back to that time when the Chiefs came here and they beat us like 20-13 or some shit.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater had 11 passing yards.
And a concussion.
And that defense gave up 19 points against that Chiefs. And God, man, the correlation between good offense
and good defense so crucial.
A good 8-minute drive with a score.
That's 8 minutes of defense just doesn't have to play.
They're drinking water on the sidelines, stretching out. They're fully charged, and they're going to come back in that game. They're going to be able to fire off the line and rush the quarterback better, cover receivers better. But you go out there and the defense just gives up a touchdown like early in the game, right? The 7-play, 10-play drive, whatever the hell it is, and then your offense comes back out and responds to the 3 and out. It's only a matter of time before you get mowed over.
Yep.
That's just how it works, man. So they're humans out there.
Yep.
So I think that even if they get Rodgers, they win the division straight up.
Okay. Well,
and
we'll see.
and I think they'll be better than the Chiefs just because of the defense. I think the offense will be good, and the offense will be enough
Right.
to win some games, and then sneak the Chargers in there on the bottom. And if who knows, Herbert could go stupid, but I don't think that defense out there is for horseshit.
Yeah,
They're
it's
like
not
one
good.
Of the worst rushing
And then the
defenses in
Raiders are
NFL.
just this year they're kind of a fluke in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty much impossible. I don't know how they made the
playoffs.
playoffs, to be honest with you, losing a coach and a star receiver. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it looks like Devontae Adams is a free agent. He's not even under contract. So maybe they franchise tag him or something. But Rodgers, man, that would be crazy. That'd be crazy. So that pretty much covers the NFL news and action. We're 45 minutes into it here. And the next topic, we got two things left to discuss. Number one was something that I sent to Jared as I saw it earlier today, sent out by a guy named Brent Coleman. Brent Coleman is, let me see. I don't know his official
like title.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Brett Coleman. Brett Coleman is an analyst, host, creator of The Film Room on YouTube, which looks like a football-related breakdown type show, something like that. Again, I could be completely butchering this on his description. But what I do know is he sent out a tweet, and he said, and I quote, he says, "All right, I'm just going to say it. The Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar era of quarterbacks is going to be way better than the Brady, Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers era in the AFC. The fun factor just isn't even comparable." Let me read that one more time, quicker so that you can process. He says the Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar era is going to be way better than the Brady, Manning, Ben, Rivers era in the AFC. Initial thoughts, Jared.
Initial thoughts. I basically think that the hill that he's trying to stand on right now is that quarterbacks are more mobile and run the ball. For basically all those guys that he's talking about right there, like they're not that typical kind of old school pocket passing quarterback. Like he named basically an old school NFL pocket passing quarterback, and the league is just adapting. So I think think about I just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about Manning throwing the ball compared to like a Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes running out of the pocket and throwing a sidearm skewed spiral down, and they do cool shit. Like I get it, I get what he's saying, but I don't think it's fair because I think it's just a different era. I mean, for God's sakes, Lamar Jackson's name on Instagram is new era, and it's a new era of quarterback. They're all going to be mobile moving forward. It's just the way the game has to adapt. And you look at it though, and it's like you have to have that right combination. I think Josh Allen's a good combination of that. I think obviously Mahomes is a good combination of that. I mean, all those guys, and in their own respect, have learned to pocket pass, and they could all dominate when they all can all dominate in the situation where they need to use a run, a step up in the pocket, and I get what they're saying. I can imagine Phillip Rivers right now just folding with this, the pocket closing on him.
Yeah.
And these guys have some escapability in a way to run the ball and extend plays. Yeah, that shit's fun. Also, the NFL is way bigger than it was right now.
Yep.
Or right now than it was back then.
Yep.
Where we have all this new technology. We have all the new camera angles, and everything's HD, and you get to learn everything about them on social media. So I think people are just more engaged. And obviously the play style might be a little bit more fun, but I just think football as a sport's continued to grow. So I can see what he's saying, but I think it's the way he said it, it's kind of it's almost felt like he was taking a shot out of some legend or at some legends.
Right. I agree.
That was their era, and they dominated the way the game needed to be played, and they won and were very successful. Right. And also last a little bit about it. It's a little early to start throwing the legends names around and anointing them up. It's these guys have 60, 70,000 passing yards. Shut your mouth until these guys play for another 5 or 6 years and prove
at least
that defenses can't 5 or 6 years and prove that defenses can't scheme against them.
Yeah, so and he's saying they're going to be. Yeah, he's saying where it's going to be more fun and better. I don't know if I entirely agree with the statement either. What I will say is that the game of football, as it's like you said, it's gotten more popular and transitioned more and more. We used to see videos of the legendary quarterbacks in the 70s and 80s, Terry Bradshaw and all these guys. Like a good year for those quarterbacks was like 3,500 passing yards and like 25 touchdowns, and then like 10 picks.
It was probably a heavy running game, huh?
Heavy run game. And on top of that, the game was not designed to where the quarterback could stand there in the pocket for 5 minutes like Tom Brady, find an open receiver, and if he doesn't, or if he does find a guy and gets rid of it, or he stays in the pocket and takes a shot, it's a penalty. It's literally a fucking penalty every single time any quarterback gets touched in the NFL nowadays. And I understand the reasoning behind that. You want to protect your stars, your most marketable players. Back then, in the 70s and 80s, those guys were getting rocked, like smoked. Yeah. And the quarterbacks couldn't do the same thing. They couldn't roll out. Even if they had the capabilities, that's why the guys with the big arms stood out the most. John Elway, Dan Marino, like those guys had big Patrick Mahomes arms with accuracy. So people are like, holy shit, these guys are transcending the sport. Now it's like, if you don't have an arm like Dan Marino, you're not going to play in the NFL. Like you're just not even good enough to play to start. So all these guys have this amazing talent. The game's different and better. On top of all that, we talk about like penalties and everything. It's just it's designed for offense nowadays. And it's slowly, every single year, it's gotten more and more like that. And I think the first generation of quarterbacks that experienced maybe the first part of that where it was a little rough and tough at the beginning of their careers and became more quarterback friendly was the list of legends he just made. And honestly, that's why most of those old quarterbacks only played fucking 12 years in the NFL. And that was considered a phenomenal career. You got Big Ben playing 18 years, Phillip Rivers playing 17 years. Tom Brady is 65 years old playing in the NFL right now. Peyton Manning, if his body didn't physically fall apart and turn to dust, he probably would have played 2 more years too. I mean, the guy got neck surgery for God's sake, came back and set every record in NFL history. So they probably both experienced, all of those guys experienced it at one point, early in their careers, or at least they expected that coming into the league. And then it got more and more passer friendly. Now it's super passer friendly. I mean, quarterbacks not only are passing and running, and they can't get touched, and they're running all over the fucking place. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Burrow is, of the list of the guys he just put on there, probably the least mobile of all them, and he still runs. Like, he fucking quarterback draws all the time. So I think it's maybe going to be more fun, but it's not necessarily because the players are so much better, but it's because of the brand of football that's on display and being officiated more than anything. I think it's just about protecting the QBs. So it'll be more fun in some ways, but in other ways, it depends what kind of football you like, right? I mean, ask some 60-year-old guy, like you said, not that you're some 60-year-old guy, but they might agree more with your take and be like, oh, back in my day, Terry Bradshaw used to get fucking pinch, sandwich between 2 linebackers and complete a 15-yard pass, and that's beautiful. And it's like 15 yards. Like, I want to see Mahomes 7-step drop, roll out to his right, and send a ball 65 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill. Like that's more entertaining. Of course, that's more fun. But I don't know. It's
I think a point you touched on, Ryan, that was really good too. Like, just a really good just a point about it is just like overall, just the way that you can't touch these guys anymore.
You cannot.
Like you can't. Like some of the penalties that happen where it's like the defensive lineman pulls up and then his hand like the lineman pushes him and his hand like hits the helmet and they're like
15 yards,
right, and a fine. So it's like I totally agree with that. It's like like you don't run the ball and scramble the ball and you don't sit there nearly as comfortable if you know that you can get just killed on any given play. So that's a good point there. Also talking about that same point too is just like the penalties these days to extend drives and like you were talking about how the game is so much more offensively focused. You know what my least favorite penalty? I hate roughing the passer when it's like legitimately not roughing the passer. I hate defensive holding because I think there's defensive holding on every single play.
There's
and I think
also offensive holding. Yeah, it's holding everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's a very easy excuse to either kill someone's drive or extend it.
Yep.
There's those two. And also, what the fuck is with pass interference being a spot call?
It just can't be.
Like
it's 15 yards. Yeah.
It's 15 yards. You should not be able to be on your own fucking 30-yard line and have Patrick Mahomes
just send a ball down the field
70 yards into the end zone.
Underthrown. It's underthrown.
And then two guys jostle for it, and they're like, "Oh, well, the penalty occurred in the end zone, so it's a 70-yard gain." Like, hey, NFL, fucking fix it. That's a bad, do it how college does it.
Yep.
100%. Like, you know what I mean? I do not like that, and I just think it's a bullshit way for I think it's a bullshit cheap way.
Bailout,
Fans are gonna watch the game anyway, and they know they can get away with it. And fans like touchdowns.
If you're a quarterback, and I think Brady's probably has it in his game plan or in the back of his head. He's got Rob Gronkowski single coverage against a safety or a corner, and he's under pressure. He's going to throw up a jump ball to underthrown jump ball to Rob Gronkowski, and Gronk's going to run into the DB, going back to the ball, pass interference, automatic first down, spot foul, 25-yard penalty. That's bullshit. To finish up the thought on the quarterbacks not being touched and mentioning that the quarterbacks used to get hit, these guys that were, mentioned in the early era or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's a video of Tom Brady running out of the pocket early in his career. I want to say it was his rookie year. If it wasn't, it was the first 2 years of his career. Tom Brady, early on in his career, scrambled out of the pocket, ran to the sideline, and he got hit so fucking hard by a linebacker who came free, knocked his helmet off, and decapitated him. And he got smoked. And credit to Tom, young quarterback, jumped right up, grabbed his helmet, put it back on, went back to the huddle. And everybody was like, oh my God. One of those hits, you see it once a week in the NFL. You're just like, holy shit, he got smoked. If that happened in today's game, even if Mahomes is on the run as an upright runner and he's not going into a slide, and I think Brady was going into the slide, if that happened to Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, that DB is definitely a penalty, probably ejected, probably definitely $100,000 fine. So the eras are different, and I think it's hard to compare. It's like the comparison between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. It's a different era of basketball, so it's really hard definitively to say one guy is better than the other. That's also a reason why Michael Jordan isn't playing 20 years in the NBA. Because when he played in the NBA, you just physically couldn't do it 20 years in the NBA on your body. You couldn't do it. And LeBron, credit to LeBron, obviously, has had an amazing, illustrious career. But the NBA is a lot softer now. Everybody knows that. And it's the same with the NFL. And yes, it's about player protection. I get it. You don't want guys like Teddy Bridgewater, who has four career concussions.
Well, in the same token, NBA, like while we're talking about it, the NBA is just like the NFL, where they want it to be a little bit more offensive.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
They don't want 87 to 91 games. They want 121 to 117.
Right. They want threes. They want touchdowns.
And they want to be able to control their stars. Sell merchandise, because fucking fans, if you don't watch a game, you can get real jacked up about a 27-point performance from James Harden. But if you're watching that game and you watch a lot of basketball, you could see him shoot 12 free throws and where he goes in the lane and just gets draws the easy foul. And they've done a little bit better of a job this year. I know that there's that rule correction. But dude, there was there was a little time frame where the players would come up and they would pump fake and then they'd jump into the guys to shoot the 3-point shot. And it was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What's the point? Yeah. So I'm just saying, that's another thing. It's
they're just, it's different.
General are geared for offense these days, and protecting stars and making stars stats show up.
I feel like that guy saying that the era of AFC quarterbacks now is going to be more fun is almost an easy statement to make, because it's no shit. Of course it's going to be more fun. They score more points. They're more protected. It's offensive oriented. And of course, as we all know, as years go on, things progress, technology gets better, athletes also get better. So back then they were like, hey, John Elway, you want to throw the ball further? Get on the squat rack. And now, or Phillip Rivers, early in his career at NC State, or Ben Roethlisberger, now you can be a small guy. You can be Russell Wilson. And what does Russell Wilson say? He spends over $1 million a year on his body. whether that's through personal trainers or wellness coaches or private chefs. Like, Philip Rivers never had a fucking private chef in his fucking life. Like, Philip Rivers, I mean, was he as good an athlete as Russell Wilson? Of course not. But the point is, like, it's a different game. It's a different era, more technology, more resources, more offensive oriented. So, interesting take, but it's obvious, and it's also not really taking into consideration the eras that they're playing in. So that'll wrap up that discussion on the quarterbacks. And jumping into this final topic here, a segment in the show that we'd like to incorporate a little bit more is we haven't really named it yet, Jared. I mean, is there any particular name that comes to mind? A viral breakdown or a...
We'll figure it out. We'll have something for him next time.
Yeah, it's something about
because we can come up with something good.
Yeah, just a viral, a viral video breakdown is what we'll stick with right now. And this is more steered towards those of you who have seen the video. If you haven't, you're gonna see it. Just look on Barstool posted it. Other people have posted it. The viral video breakdown of the week, brought to you by, just kidding. The viral video of the week is a video that, like we said, was posted everywhere. And I guess it was some girls playing softball. Jared, if you had to guess age range, what would you say? 10 to 12-year-olds? Maybe like...
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. As you get older, that everyone just kind of looks like
the same.
Blends in. They're all just young. They could have been like freshmen in high school or something.
They could have been, but the thing is, dude, this field is so damn small. So it's a softball girl.
They're all that small.
Well, this one is like ridiculously small because the video shows a girl in the box. She steps up to the plate, loads up for a pitch, turns on an inside pitch, and pulls it foul. And absolutely just heat-seeking missile to the on-deck batter. Absolutely drills her in the thigh, like squared up as firm as it can get. A few questions here. Number one, looking at the physical orientation of the video, and again, it could be camera angle and lighting and everything else. The on-deck batter is just way too close, like way too fucking close to home plate. Because if you can't, like, she not only didn't react, like the ball, like she was still tracking it into home plate with her eyes as the ball was hitting her in the thigh. Like, it was ridiculous how close this girl was. Number two, she's close, but the third baseman is like the same distance away from home plate as the on-deck batter. So what if that ball's fair? Like, what's the third baseman gonna... I guess the third baseman's got a glove and she's watching too, but like, my God, I mean, like... I mean, we played baseball, Jared. Like, rule number one is just like, when you're on deck, get prepared for your at bat, but also like, watch your lips, like heads up. And if you're going to line up in a spot where you can easily get hit by a ball that's just pulled foul, like balls get pulled foul like that all the time. She pulls it foul. It smokes her in the thigh. She immediately reacts, and then the video cuts off, thankfully, because I'm sure she probably dropped down in a heap and started bursting out in tears. And I'm sure it hurt, but man, just laser beam.
Like, there's only one way that pitcher feels good, and that, like, it's not if she threw a fastball. Because if she threw a fastball and somebody was that early on it, that's just a fashion slap in the face.
100%.
Because that, I don't even. It's harder to do that than hit the ball into fair territory. Like, way harder. Like, I can't even like fathom like how early you like how anxious you must have been to swing if that's what you did.
I hope to God it was a changeup. I hope to God. Or it was a left-handed pitcher throwing a down and in breaking ball, because you see that sometimes, right? You see a right-handed batter and then a left-handed Chris Sale slider, and he fouls it off back behind him or between his legs. But even in that case, you have to line yourself up as the person on deck. Like, that's especially when they're kids, like they're little kids. Put them in a spot where they're not going to get drilled, because guess what? That league, for the rest of the year and maybe for the rest of the time, they're going to say no more on deck batters. They're going to have them stand in the dugout, because the proximity in the field and the orientation of everything. Yeah, it was. Again, we hope the best for that young lady who wore the line drive, but it was also an excellent video. Yeah, excellent video.
Just having just being at that angle too, like for that.
Well, and the
opportunity, I mean,
videos, the videos
that's
being
the
recorded by the
good
girl.
viral video.
Yeah, the girl. That's the best part about most viral videos is that that video. The intention behind that recording was not to catch that on camera. It was to catch. It was dad pulls out his phone to record his daughter taking an at bat. And then, next thing you know, his daughter turns on an inside changeup and pulls it off Kathy's thigh, and Kathy's got to go to the hospital because she's crying so bad. Man, you feel for him, but it is what it is. It's a good video to end the episode on, and if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah, go look. I don't even know what you even Google.
It's on Barstool.
Go to Barstool. You can find it on Barstool. Yeah, just
one of their most recent posts on Thursday, January 27th. Yeah,
you're right though. She's, and like I'll say it every podcast if I have to. I'm not a guy that likes to exaggerate, but that that girl was 11 inches. No, she was 11 feet, like
from the plate.
Yeah, from the plate.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if she somehow knew that was coming, she was getting drilled by that ball, and it was right in the thigh. I'm sure it sucks, but you know what? At least it was in the thigh, not in the face.
Best place.
Yeah, at least it was in the thigh and not in the face. And
let's be honest, it's probably not a viral video. If it goes straight to the beak, you know what I mean? If it goes straight to the mouth, that's not viral though. That's like, you're like, oh man, like that hurts.
It's a sick, twisted type of viral.
Yeah, you're like, now her lips. Exactly.
It only gets posted by some rotten underground.
But then the viral video is when Tommy Lasorda's coaching third base and there's a broken bat that comes hurling at him. He backpedals to avoid it and then tumbles backwards, loses his hat, and everyone goes, oh, ha ha ha, Tommy Lasorda, fucking, clumsy, whatever. In this case, it's right off the thigh, right? And the only other ones you can probably wear to the face or to, into sensitive areas is if maybe it's the ones you've seen with the T-ball coach, he's at third base or he's front tossing in a T-ball game or something, and kid just hits a screaming comebacker right into dad's fucking junk, and you're like, that's hilarious. That's awesome. You know what I mean? I love that.
Yeah. That's. You definitely don't want to see someone get legitimately injured. So.
Yeah, right. So that's the thing is hopefully the young lady is.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's funny.
Hopefully she looks back on it when she's married with kids and says, "Hey kids, look at the time my video got 1 million views on Instagram," something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even remember it, but I don't remember it except for the fact that I'm permanently disabled in my left leg and I have to wear a cast for the rest of my life.
So they had to replace my leg with a steel rod.
Yeah, those. See these scars? These are from the prosthetic leg I had to get screwed into my thigh. No, but I'm sure she's fine.
I hope she's doing great.
Yeah, hopefully she's fine. We'll see though, right? I guess maybe we'll get an update sometime soon. But otherwise, Jared got another solid episode in. For those of you who tuned in, we appreciate it. Phenomenal Fan Podcast. It's going to be back sometime after the weekend, whether it's Sunday night, posted Monday morning, or Monday. Either way, we appreciate you guys tuning in once again. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to share it. Share it with your friends. Follow us on social media. And otherwise, thank you guys for listening. And we will catch you guys on the next episode of the Phenomenal Fan Podcast. Jared, peace out.
Later, brother.